Have you ever wondered why some people suddenly vanish from your life? No argument, no warning, just gone. It feels confusing, even painful, like God is cutting something out of you. But here's the mystery. When destiny is near, God doesn't always add first. Sometimes He subtracts. He removes the ones who cannot go where He's taking you. And what feels like rejection is often divine redirection. Think of it like autumn. Leaves don't fall because the tree is dying. They fall because a new season is coming. Some people in your life are just like leaves, beautiful for a time, but never meant to stay for the entire journey. And if you've been sensing this lately, fewer calls, unexpected distance, relationships that don't feel the same, it's not random. It's a signal, a sign that your destiny is closer than you think. In this video, we're going to uncover the 5 types of people God removes before your destiny fully arrives. And trust me, number 5 is the one most chosen ones overlook. But once you see it, everything about your journey will finally make sense. So here's what I ask of you. Don't just watch this passively, engage with it. If your spirit already feels this word stirring inside you, like this video right now, subscribe to this channel, not only for us, but for you. Because the more you engage, the more this message reaches other chosen ones waiting for confirmation. And type the number 5 in the comments. 5 is the number of grace, and grace is what carries you into destiny. Now, take a deep breath, because the first type of person God removes may already be closer than you realize. Number 1, the doubters. You know who they are, the ones who look at your dreams and, instead of encouragement, raise an eyebrow. They ask, "Are you sure? Do you really think that's possible?" Maybe you should play it safe. It doesn't sound like an attack. It sounds like concern. But underneath, it's quiet poison. Doubt is like running a marathon with a backpack full of stones. Every step feels heavier, not because you're weak, but because you're carrying someone else's unbelief. Every chosen one faces this battle. Moses heard it when the Israelites said, "You brought us here to die." David heard it when his brothers mocked him. "Go back to your sheep." Even Jesus faced it when his hometown whispered, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" Doubt is dangerous because it doesn't just question your plans, it questions your identity. And here's the twist. Doubters aren't always enemies. Sometimes they're the ones closest to you. A parent who doesn't understand your calling. A friend who means well but can't see God's hand on your life. A sibling or spouse who never stepped out in faith themselves. But if God placed destiny inside you, He will often remove doubters, not because He hates them, but because their voice is too loud for the season you're entering. Faith is fragile when it's first planted, like a flame that one cold wind can try to snuff out. So when doubters leave, don't see betrayal, see pruning. Because faith cannot thrive when weighed down by unbelief. Picture climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the thinner the air. Some people can walk with you on flat ground, but when the climb begins, they gasp for air. God in His mercy removes them, because if you try to carry them, both of you will fall. Now, here's how to respond when God removes doubters. Stop chasing them. If they walked away, let them. Guard your language. Don't share sacred dreams with those who lack faith to understand. Feed your spirit. Surround yourself with voices of life, not limitation. Often, God doesn't remove doubters dramatically. Sometimes it's just distance. Fewer calls, unanswered texts. And you wonder, did I do something wrong? No. He's shifting the atmosphere so your faith has space to breathe. This isn't arrogance. It's not thinking you're better. It's knowing your spirit cannot live on crumbs of doubt when it was created for the banquet of faith. So if people are pulling back, don't panic. It means your destiny is demanding a new level of belief. But here's the warning. If doubters weigh you down, the next type of people God removes don't just slow you. They try to stop you entirely. And their weapon is far more dangerous than doubt. Number 2, the jealous ones. Jealousy is strange. It rarely says, "I hate you." Instead, it smiles, claps when you succeed, But inside, it burns when your light shines too bright. You've felt it before. That silence in the room after you share good news. That forced smile that never reaches the eyes. Your victory exposed their insecurity, and that's unbearable to them. Joseph knew this. His brothers hated his coat, not because of the fabric, but because it symbolized favor. Instead of celebrating him, they plotted against him. That's how jealousy works. It doesn't attack weakness, it attacks strength. It's not your struggles that bother them. It's the areas where you shine. What makes jealousy dangerous is how it hides. Behind compliments, behind friendly advice, behind support that feels conditional. Pay attention. If someone claps when you're beneath them, but grows cold the moment you rise, that's not love. That's envy wearing a mask. Spiritually, jealousy is a parasite. It drains joy, it makes you shrink back, dim your light, just to keep others comfortable. But hear me, you were not chosen to hide your light. You were chosen to let it shine, even if it blinds those who refuse humility. So when God removes jealous people, don't mourn, rejoice, because envy breeds betrayal, gossip, and sabotage. Their absence is protection. How do you recognize them? They compete when no competition exists. They minimize your breakthrough. They distance themselves when you rise. And what should you do? Stop apologizing for favor. You didn't give it to yourself. Heaven did. Don't dim your light. Your calling is not negotiable. Pray for them, but release them. Maybe you had a friend who loved you until you started growing, until healing came, until doors opened. Then the friendship faded. It hurts. But remember, the jealousy that pushed them away is the same fire that pushes you deeper into destiny. Picture it. A rocket built for space, but tied down with ropes. It has the fuel, but envy, insecurity, resentment hold it back. God cuts the ropes not to punish them, but to set you free. Here's the deeper truth. Doubters weaken your steps, jealous ones weaken your spirit, and if they linger too long, envy turns into sabotage. But listen closely. The next type God removes is even trickier, because they don't show envy. They don't question you openly. They disguise themselves as allies, but inside, there's something else entirely. Number 3, the pretenders. This group is the trickiest, because unlike doubters who make unbelief obvious, and unlike the jealous ones who show it through silence or coldness, pretenders hide behind masks. They look like friends. They act like supporters. They say all the right words, but their heart isn't aligned with you or with God's plan. Have you ever had someone cheer you in public, but in private you left the conversation drained? Their words wrapped in encouragement, yet their energy whispered something else. That's the pretender's signature. They don't stab with a sword, they drain with a straw. Think of Judas. He walked with Jesus for years, saw miracles, shared the table, kissed him on the cheek, yet behind that kiss was betrayal. Pretenders operate the same way, close enough to feel safe, but secretly an assignment from the enemy to distract, drain, and delay. Spiritually, they're like counterfeit money. From a distance, they look valuable, but when tested, there's no true backing. Rely on them, and you end up bankrupt. How do you spot them? They mirror, but don't grow, copying your language and dreams, yet bearing no fruit. They overpromise, underdeliver, always planning, never showing up. They crave access, not alignment, near your fire for heat, not honor. And here's the truth, not everyone who leaves was meant to stay. God often lets time expose pretenders. Masks slip eventually. So don't get bitter when they go. Don't grow paranoid, questioning every friend. Instead, thank God. He's clearing space for the real ones, those aligned with destiny, not just attached to your presence. Practically, protect your inner circle. Jesus loved the crowds but poured deeply into 12 and trusted his closest moments to 3. Discern fruit. Words can be faked, but fruit never lies. Don't fear exposure. When pretenders leave, it's not loss. It's revelation. Picture a ship. Some passengers sail with you. Others secretly drill holes beneath the deck. Storms don't create pretenders, they reveal them. And in every storm, you discover not just God's power, but also who's truly by your side. Here's the encouragement. Every time God removes a pretender, He's not just protecting you, He's promoting you. A clean circle creates clarity, and clarity creates capacity for destiny. So don't mourn the pretender, mourn if they had stayed, because their presence would have cost far more than their absence ever will. But listen carefully. If pretenders drain you in secret, the next group is even heavier. They don't just drain you, they try to control you, not as friends, but as leaders, advisors, even protectors. Number 4, the controllers. This one is heavy. Doubters slow you down, jealous ones weaken your spirit. Pretenders drain you in secret. But controllers, they try to own you. They want to dictate how you live, what you decide, even what you believe. And the scariest part, they disguise control as care. They say, "I'm just looking out for you. I only want what's best. If I were you, I would." At first, it sounds wise, but deep down, it feels like chains around your soul. Think of a puppet on strings. You're moving, but it's not you, it's someone else pulling the cords. And when their voice becomes louder than God's, His voice grows harder to hear. Controllers show up anywhere. A parent who never let you grow beyond their shadow. A boss who manipulates your future for their gain. A partner or friend who makes you feel guilty for choosing differently. Spiritually, control isn't love, it's witchcraft. The attempt to replace God's guidance with human dominance. The voice that says, "Don't trust what God told you, trust me instead." But you were never called to be a puppet. You were called to be a vessel. A puppet repeats someone else's script. A vessel carries God's presence into the world. That's why God removes controllers. Because destiny requires freedom, and you can't walk into calling if someone else holds the keys to your cage. How do you recognize them? They use guilt as a weapon. They punish independence, withdrawing affection when you choose differently. They rewrite history, reminding you of all you owe them. If you feel like you can't say no without paying a price, you're dealing with control, not love. So what should you do? Release the guilt. You're not responsible for their insecurities. Reclaim your voice. Destiny cannot be built on borrowed words. Choose obedience to God, even if it costs relationships. Think of Israel in Egypt. For 400 years, Pharaoh dictated their work, their worth, their identity. But when God called them into destiny, the first thing He did was break the chains of control. You cannot enter the promised land while still obeying Pharaoh's voice. Maybe this feels familiar. Maybe someone seemed to love you, but every time you tried to step forward, they pulled you back. Maybe they even used scripture or fear to keep you in line. But when God removes controllers, it means He's preparing you for deeper trust in His voice. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels lonely. But freedom is never cheap. And here's the truth. Controllers don't always leave voluntarily. Sometimes God has to pull you out. He closes doors, exposes manipulation, interrupts connections. It feels like loss, but it's deliverance. So if God is creating distance between you and someone who always had the final say, don't fight it, lean into it, because your destiny cannot arrive while Pharaoh still sits on the throne of your decisions. But listen closely. As dangerous as controllers are, they're not the final test. There's one more type God removes, and this one is the most overlooked, because they don't doubt, envy, pretend, or control. They simply keep you comfortable. And comfort is the most dangerous chain of all. Number 5, the comfortable ones. This one may be the most dangerous, because while doubters weaken your faith, jealous ones drain your joy, pretenders betray trust, and controllers chain your freedom. The comfortable ones don't look like enemies. They look like home. They keep you stuck, not out of hate, but because they don't want things to change. Have you tried to grow only to hear, "Why can't you just be content?" Or stepped out in faith, and someone said, "Why risk it? Isn't life good enough right here?" It sounds harmless. It feels safe. But comfort is a silent killer of destiny. Think of a ship tied to an anchor. It has sails, wind, direction, yet it never leaves the dock. Anchors don't drag you backward. They simply keep you from moving forward. Spiritually, comfortable people represent stagnation. They represent an old season, the version of you God is calling you to outgrow. Stay too long, and you risk missing the very destiny you were born for. Abraham had to leave his father's house. Peter had to step out of the boat. If they stayed in comfort, they'd never touch promise or the supernatural. That's why comfort is so dangerous. It doesn't chain you with hate. It chains you with love that resists change. How do you recognize them? They resist your growth, pulling you back to the old you. They glorify the past, as if the future holds nothing better. They discourage risk, preferring you safe over soaring. Here's the test. If people clap when you stay the same but grow silent when you rise, you're surrounded by comfort, not destiny. What should you do? Don't confuse comfort with covenant. The past doesn't always belong in your future. Honor them, but don't stay stuck. Love without limiting your destiny. Embrace discomfort. Destiny and comfort never walk hand in hand. Picture a baby bird in the nest. It's safe, it's warm, but if it stays too long, the nest becomes a prison. Wings weren't made for staying. They were made for flying. Maybe that's you right now. Maybe God is shaking your nest. People you leaned on are no longer there. The familiar feels unfamiliar. Don't panic. That's not the enemy. That's God. Because the moment comfort leaves, destiny begins. So if the comfortable ones are drifting away, rejoice. It means you're stepping into the next chapter of your calling. Here's the warning. Hold on to comfort and you'll miss destiny. Release comfort and you'll gain everything heaven promised. Because comfort is temporary, but destiny is eternal. You didn't find this message by accident. No, this was divine timing. Heaven has been guiding you here, shaping you, preparing you for this exact moment. The truth is, every removal you've experienced, every separation that broke your heart, every goodbye you didn't understand, none of it was random. It was the language of God, speaking louder than words. Because sometimes, His protection looks like subtraction. Think about it. The doubters left so your faith could grow without their stones in your backpack. The jealous ones left so your joy wouldn't be poisoned by their envy. The pretenders were exposed so you could walk in truth, not illusion. The controllers were removed so God's voice could become the only authority over your destiny. And the comfortable ones drifted away so you could finally spread your wings and fly. It hurts. Of course it does. But chosen ones are not called to easy paths. They are called to narrow roads, sharp turns, and divine interruptions. And every person God removes is proof that your destiny is closer than you think. So here's what I want you to take with you. Stop chasing what God is cutting. Stop mourning what heaven has already moved. Your future doesn't depend on who left. It depends on who is still with you, and above all, who is leading you. Now I want to ask you something. If this word spoke to your spirit, don't let it stay silent. Share it with another chosen one who needs to hear this today. Because what you've just heard might be the exact key someone else is waiting for. And I want you to do one more thing. If you made it all the way to the end of this message, type this in the comments right now. I release what God removes. Write it, declare it, own it. Because speaking it out loud is the first step to living it out daily. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. Not just to help this channel stay relevant here on YouTube, but because every time you stay connected, you grow stronger as a chosen one. You surround yourself with words that water your spirit and remind you of who you are. And before you leave, don't rush. The journey doesn't end here. Click the video that's appearing on your screen right now, because it's the next piece of the puzzle, and I promise, it will open your eyes even wider to what God is doing in your life. You are not here by mistake. You are here because destiny is calling. And this is only the beginning.